Sometimes, like cancer and other diseases, start on unforgiveness.
I have a challenge that was given to him, and he was giving it to us, was to read Proverbs every day.
Think about driving in a car. Your rearview mirror is small, but your windshield is big because you're not going backwards, you're going forwards, and you need to be able to see more of what it is that you're looking at.
I will never keep track, never keep score of whose turn is it to buy or who did or didn't buy. I'm just always going to buy.
Forgive is to set a person free and discover that the prisoner was you.
It's unbelievable that you could steal that kind of money from you and you still have them employed in your company, gave them grace.
In Deuteronomy 28, 1-7, God said, if you just do these things, I can bless you in the city, I can bless you in the country, I can bless everything your hands touch, and I'll make you the lender, not the borrower.
Well, I want to welcome you all back to another episode of Crazy Unbelievable Faith. I am your co-host, Brian Owen, with my wife, Kersha, in the other Hollywood Square.
Hi.
We have several Hollywood Squares, and you're going to see Pilot Jerry is back today. Jerry, thank you so much for coming back on the episode.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful to have you back. I know there's some exciting stories entailed for today, but one quick question I have for you, Jerry. In thinking through our kind of our title, Crazy Unbelievable Faith, is there a word in there that just resonates or speaks to your heart directly today?
If anything, Brian, I think back maybe 50 years ago when I was struggling in business. I was on my third failing business, and I was trying to make life work, and it wasn't working. My relationships with my employees wasn't working. My relationship with my wife, with my family, it wasn't working. And I spoke about him, I think, in our last session. It was an 8th grade educated Amish guy that God put in my life, just loaded with wisdom. He just had wisdom. He had a relationship with Jesus like no one I've ever met. And when you're around someone like that, you want what they have. And so I went to him and I said, John, I want what you have. How did you, I'm just asking questions. And he said, Jerry, he said, in Deuteronomy 28, 1-7, God said, if you just do these things, I can bless you in the city, I can bless you in the country, I can bless everything your hands touch, and I'll make you the lender, not the borrower. And I thought, wow, that's what I want. But what are these things? And that's what I couldn't imagine. What are these things? These things are being blessable from God. And what that meant for me, I watched John's life. Like, I'll give you an example. I was calling on grocery stores to sell my newspapers. And that's in California. That's the business. The third failing business was newspapers. And we would go into these grocery stores to set up racks and stuff. And as our way in, if there was trash laying on the parking lot or on the sidewalk, John would pick it up and take it over and put it in the trash can. I'm like, no. After about a week of this, to the point we'd go to a real estate office because I was producing real estate magazines for realtors. If we would walk up their sidewalk and there were weeds as we walked, maybe not like all weed, just a weed here, a weed there, John would stop down and pick it up and disperse of it. I said, John, why are you doing this? He said, well, I want to be blessable to God. I said, blessable? You pulling somebody's weeds? He said, no, it's this. It's that God owns the earth.
Yeah.
Save Mart doesn't own this grocery store. God owns this grocery store. He just lets Save Mart use it.
Yeah.
And so it's my job as a believer to make sure that I take care of God's garden the best that I can. And it's like, oh my goodness. And that was one step for me to understand about being blessable in front of God. Was like a couple steps that we're going to talk about today. Some of the things on my heart I wanted to share with you is God's grace and forgiveness, because they're tied in together. I learned a long time ago that forgiveness can be a hard thing. Now, this is what's helped me through it.
Very true.
And for our listeners, if you're dealing with forgiveness, it can eat you up. Matter of fact, I was thinking about this morning, and this was from a guy named Lewis Smedes. And he said, to forgive is to set a person free and discover that the prisoner was you. And that's what I found out when I had unforgiveness in my life. It didn't affect that other person at all. It was affecting me. I was in prison. I'm the one that was, and God wants us to get rid of that, get it off of us. Well,
so good. So that's Jerry, I want to pause you just 1 second on
Sure.
that one. Because I think there are countless people listening to this, watching this podcast, that they struggle with exactly what you said. And I know I have, and I think that the bulk of our bandwidth between those 6 inches between our 2 ears is ate up with the what ifs and the overthinking and the, oh my gosh, that can just eat people alive. And that can lead to that struggle, like you're talking about, for the forgiving of it. It's really just being able to forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Kirsch.
I also wanted to tap in and say that forgiveness is the cleansing of your soul.
Yeah.
And what you're giving back to God for God to deal with, instead of housing it and carrying that weight around. Emotions are like weights in our life. They can hold us down and keep us at a level that doesn't allow us the ability to swim. They force us to sink. And so when you're releasing those weights and you're giving them over to God, then it allows him to deal with the weight or the heaviness of those emotions. And so forgiveness is strictly for us. It's not for the relationship. That's why forgiveness and reconciliation are called out differently in the Bible.
And what's helped me through it is to realize the sin in my own life. And I remember the very first time that it was big in business for me. I had a salesman. He was very good. He was a friend. Matter of fact, his wife was one of my first employees that I'd hired, and then I hired him maybe a few years later. And so I'm close with this young couple, and he's selling. And what I didn't know, after about 6 months, he was setting up to do a takeover, to take the realtors that I had in this magazine. I had about, I don't know, probably 80 different realtors in this book that I was producing every week. And he, around the scene, he got it set up to give a cheaper price. And he had a relationship with all because he was a good salesman. Anyway, it was like, oh my goodness, after this happened, it blew up in front of me. I'm ready to tear the guy up. I'm ticked. And I remember my wife, oh man, she got so mad at this guy. And then I started thinking about my sins of my past. Wait a minute, I have a sinful nature. Jim had a sinful nature. It just happened to be that he caused sin in my life. I mean, he caused sin on him, in my opinion, to take my customers. And it was like, but wait a minute, I've done a lot worse than that to people. Oh my goodness. Oh, Lord, forgive me. Because I learned with God's grace. Think of it. God can't have sin around him. So we all have a sinful nature. So that means we would never be able to be with God. That's why he sent his son to cover. So he lived a perfect life, sinless, so he could be with the Father immediately. And so he died, went to hell for 3 days for you and I. I mean, think of that. I mean, that to me is just, he paid the price for all of us to be with him. And I got to thinking about that and thinking, I can forgive this guy. I think of the next one. I had a cable business. I was doing cable in Cleveland, Ohio. And we were building, well, it was all over. It was Ohio, Virginia, New Orleans, Tennessee. We're doing supplied labor to these cable companies. The guy's been with me probably 10 years. Family man, runs my offices. I had, at the same time, I had Dish Network going on. I had DirecTV, and I had cable, all three. And everybody knew that I was doing all three. So I felt like I really couldn't be involved in the cable business. So I was counting on him. I paid him very well. The business was growing. And then all of a sudden, it stops growing. And I have to put money in. It's like, wait a minute. Why am I putting money in this thing? I mean, it should be like, this is 10 years later. God exposed to me that this guy was using my credit cards to pay for sex. He'd taken one of my trucks and given it to his church and church school. He belonged to a Catholic church, and they had a school. And so he gave them the truck to drive and filled it up with gas all the time. He hired a financial officer, accountant lady, to handle my books, but she only worked for me 2 days a week. She worked for the church and school 3 days a week, but I'm paying the 5 days a week. He was paying scholarships for kids to be able to go to this Christian school. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I'm finding this stuff out. Oh my goodness. At first it's that, but then I realized, wait a minute. Now I had a partner in that business, and the partner said, we should put him in prison. I mean, look what he did. I mean, it cost us about $1 million, and we end up having to shut it down. $1 million, maybe more. The other thing he was doing, I didn't talk about, is he set up a company in his name, XYZ installing company. And every month he would bill for something he never touched, never did. I mean, it was like $10,000, $15,000 a month in work that he's billed us for, but never did it, right? Okay.
Wow.
So my partner's saying, we need to put him in prison. I mean, I got to thinking about, wait a minute, he's got 2 junior high kids. I think they were 6th grade to 8th grade. A girl was the youngest, the boy was the oldest. And I started thinking about, the ones that's going to get hurt here. I still get emotional about this. The ones that's going to get hurt are the kids. It's not going to be him. Yeah, he's going to go to prison. But his kids, this is development time. So I went to my partner. I said, let's have grace. Let's watch God work in your life and my life, because we're not doing it for him. We're doing it for his kids. We did. So now fast forward, I don't know, it's been 10 years probably. This just happened like a few months ago. I get a call from a guy, and I look at my phone and it comes up his name. And I'm thinking, that was the brother-in-law to the guy named Alex who did all this to me.
Okay.
His brother-in-law. So I answered the call. I said, hey, how you doing? And he said, oh, I'm sorry. It was a pocket call. And I said, that's okay. That's okay. I got to ask you a question, though. This has been on my mind here the last couple of weeks. He said, yeah, what is it? I said, Alex's 2 kids. Last I met, they were 8th grade and 6th grade. How did they turn out? He said, oh, Jerry. He said the son graduated from high school, went into the military, graduated from the military, went into college, graduated from college, and now he's going into engineering. The daughter is, I don't know, she was doing this, and this. And I just felt in my spirit, that's what grace brings. That's what grace brought. I mean, it was like, I'm sure in his mind, he's still living with that sin that he did to us. He's been a captive to it, I'm sure. And so I didn't have to send him to prison.
I think that story you're talking about, Jerry, and I know there's others that we'll circle back on from our last conversation too. But I think that story in itself, I mean, that's a very large sum of money and multiple infractions, as all it comes to my mind, multiple infractions against you and, against himself. But I think that there's also viewers and listeners to this that, somebody might have just, maybe you lent them, or they needed to borrow $50 or $100.
Yeah.
And that can still eat at people. Well, he never paid me back. He never paid me back, or she never paid me back. Or, I picked that up. That was a piece I picked up from one of Maxwell's teachings, Jerry, was he talked about his early days in the church in Ohio and taking a couple out. They were elders of the church. And every Sunday, he and Margaret didn't have any money. And this couple would take them out every Sunday and it was like, and this was like their big splurge meal. And when John said, "Hey, I'm leaving the church," and he was moving on to a different church, the couple confronted him and said, "How dare you?" And because they had been keeping tally marks. And John specifically said, "I will never keep track, never keep score of whose turn is it to buy or who did or didn't buy. I'm just always going to buy. Take that high road, take that, be the bigger person." Because there are people that, again, they can't forgive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's, $1 million, like that's, or a vehicle, or, that's, Jerry, that's amazing.
So, Jerry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Take God out of the equation. Would you be able to have done any of that forgiveness without Jesus in your life?
No, because I didn't understand. I didn't understand how that works. I wouldn't have a thought or care about his 2 children.
Right.
But what Jesus did for me, he died for me for my sin, that I could have life eternal forever with God.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus did for me. And it's like, why can't I do that in this case, I did it for the kids. I didn't do it for him. He should have went to prison. But I wanted to end that story with, God has blessed both me and my partner so many bigger ways than that.
Yeah.
Because of our choices.
Yeah.
I remember his wife, she was so bitter. Oh my goodness, so bitter. Couldn't forgive him. It caused her starting having health problems, and they end up getting a divorce. I'm not sure if that was the case, the reason, but it was surely a tick mark on my friend. Yeah. And I think sometimes some diseases, and this is off the chart for me. It's, doctors will probably say, no, that's not true. I think sometimes like cancer and other diseases start on unforgiveness. That a person lets it build up inside and it just starts working on their physical. And so if there's any viewers listening and you got something that's really eating at you, let it go. Just think of what you've done in the past to somebody or something, and you went to God about it and you got forgiveness from Jesus and you moved on. That's what you need to do for others. Yeah.
Do you have any, Jerry, do you have any examples? Like I've heard examples of people have written things out on paper and they take them and they throw them in a fire and burn them, so it's like, hey,
good.
You let that go. I've heard people go to, to a lake and they, you throw it right on a rock and you throw it in the lake or something. So do you have any to be able to let go of that is easier said than done. Do you have any examples?
My only example is I'm always looking to be favored by God. So when I'm making choices like this, I want to be favored by God. It's like the third one, I wrote 3 names here down that I wanted to talk about. The third one comes that I shared a little bit in our last talk, which was a lady that worked for me in our finance department. And she, her and her husband came down and out and needed some money to pay bills. And so they used, they got a credit card in the same name, same company, but their name that I had. So every time she paid my credit card bill at the end of the month, she added her credit card number to that amount. And she came to me and said, I got saved a couple of weeks ago and I can't eat, I can't sleep. And I said, oh, let's celebrate. That's great. And she said, no, you don't understand. I was stealing from you. And now I'm eat up inside. And I'll never forget of my choice. I can forgive or I can put her in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And since she brought it to me, I said, you know what, she worked for me probably 15 years after that, maybe longer. And so I think when you want to become blessable, then you watch what God can do. It's like amazing. His grace is amazing. And I want to be just a little bit like God, right?
Yeah. I think, Jerry, your heart is just so pure, and it has just a generosity, a blessing just to be around you and hear your stories. I know when we spent that week together in Puerto Rico, I just found myself like just so overflowing, just listening to your stories and being just in the same conversation with you and around you. And I long to have that kind of a pull on people too, where they just feel full from me. They don't feel depleted. And I think that is being more Christ-like, is having people wanting to come into your life, and listen to you and glean knowledge from your stories. And so I really appreciate just all the time you've given us and all the wisdom you've given us. And just so you are just a huge blessing to Brian and I and the podcast, and such a blessing to God too, So I wanted to say that before we got any further into this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that is, and I will echo that, Kersha. I mean, that's Jerry, it's there really are no words to describe the conversations that we had that Monday. We were supposed to golf, and Kersha and I don't even golf, and so then we're at this breakfast, and here we're sitting with you and Joseph and others, and it was just awesome, and being able to make those connections. And I think since that, I mean, it's such a small world, and the little God Kersha calls them God winks. The God winks that we've had. I have had so many things happen in the last week and a half, where people at the conference are related to other people. I mean, it is just this crazy small world. Yeah. I mean, people I work alongside, it's like, who? And it's like, I mean, but the conversations that can come from that, Jerry, and this was a piece we learned that week, is you build respect with people, taking your eyes off of yourself, as you were explaining today, Jerry, taking your eyes off yourself, thinking about, that higher road leadership, the book that John's written, but high road leadership is taking your eyes off yourself and building respect with people to then build a solid relationship with them. And then through that relationship and building common ground, that's where you can share the love of God, the word of God. Maybe it's just, opening doors to other opportunities for people. Once you've established that foundation piece on rock, not on sand, then the trust is there. And you sharing about being able to forgive, Jerry, like that. I mean, Kersha, I love your question of like, if you didn't have God, could you have? I mean, that's those are big things. Those are not simple rocks to just say, okay, we'll just move this. Those were big things for sure.
Well,
what I learned was that sin is sin, whether it's a little one or it's a big one. In God's eyes, it's all equal. I mean, so if he's forgiven me, man, I want to be blessable. I want to be known by the Father saying, I want to bless that young guy. Yeah, me.
Well, here's a point as to why I asked that question. Because so many people, we kind of walk through life, and I know that there's a lot of us, Brian and I have been guilty of this, where we go to church to check the box. And when you really open up and you really allow God to lead your life, lead you to become more Christ-like, you open up a different realm of people, of things in your life, looking at it from a different perspective. And, when you change that perspective, it allows you to change the way you look at things. If you kind of think about driving in a car, your rearview mirror is small, but your windshield is big because you're not going backwards, you're going forwards. And you need to be able to see more of what it is that you're looking at.
Well, Jerry flies a plane and there's no rear view mirror.
Period.
Like he's just forward all the way. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just like that.
But I just think it's so important. This whole podcast, God asked us to do it. There are things in Brian and I's lives. We've moved, we've built houses, we've sold houses just after we've moved in. It's stuff that we wouldn't normally do. And if we didn't have God asking us to do it, we wouldn't have done it. And when God gives you that conviction to do those things, it's your decision to be obedient. And
right.
if you delay your obedience, the more painful it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well,
just
I was gonna add, Kirsch, to that. As we've, Jerry, you've talked about the forgiveness. Sin is sin, no matter small or big.
Yeah.
I think there are people that even when they know that they have sinned, and like you were saying, that the business partner of yours, like it ate him alive, from a health standpoint as well. But when we built one of our houses, I remember when we were in the framing process, and framers, people love and hate framers. I understand that. Like, it's not their fault. They're in rough weather conditions. But Kirsten and I had so much forgiveness and grace with them that it was kind of like they didn't expect that. They didn't expect us to offer to buy them pizza or buy them a case of beer, after they're done working on a Friday. We were just trying to be genuine to them and just be nice. And they kind of were like, well, that's not what we do. Sometimes people aren't even willing to receive some of that. That grace and the forgiveness, because it's like, hey, we're all human. No one is perfect. There's mess ups we all have. I mean, we've walked out of the store and not paid for things, and you get in there and you're like, what is this? And you run back in and the store clerks are like, why are you coming back?
Yeah.
It's like, those are, as you said, small things. Not some of us, more of like the Hollywood square down below in my screen, but that's fine.
Just a few weeks ago, we were getting through the store. I'm on the phone with our oldest. She'd heard a noise in the house, and so she's a little freaked out. I'm trying to calm her down. Brian is going through the self-checkout with the other four littles, and Cruz grabbed 5 tissue bags, but only scanned in 3. And I had to go back to the store because we didn't get the discount that we were supposed to get, buy 2, get 1 free toy. And I realized in front of the store clerk at the exchange, like at the returns and exchange Target, that we had only bought 3. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. It was chaotic. My husband was there. I'm so sorry. We didn't count our items before we left the self-checkout. And the lady was like, it's fine. It's okay.
Kirsten's like, it's on video. You can pull it up. He's doing this. You can see all this chaos. Like, she thought she was going to jail or something. And it's like, no, it's okay. But yeah, it's hey, we all need grace. We all need grace. Yes. And I do have to share, Jerry. I know you had asked, kind of as we were ramping up and kind of getting back together, you said, hey, I wanted to preview my previous conversation, and I noticed I'm wearing the same shirt. I do, just for all those that are watching, I do own other shirts. I know I'm having the same shirt with you, Jerry. Apparently this is the Jerry shirt, but I do own other clothes. So I'll have to find some more wardrobe options when we do another podcast for sure. But
hey, you matched Kersha today.
That's yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking that. I was like, oh my gosh, he's in Minnesota. I'm at home.
Yeah.
We just happen to put same color.
Yeah. You do what you got to do. So, Jerry, anything in closing that you'd like to share? Wrap up. I'm going to kind
of. I would like to do this in closing. What changed my life 50 years ago was wanting to be favorable to God. And I got into what I call a round table. That was 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. And really a round table that I was studying was really out of the book of Proverbs. And if you know the book of Proverbs, it's a book that was written by King Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, because he asked for that from God and God gave it to him. But there's so many golden nuggets in that Proverbs that started to work in my life. So I went to like 5 of my business friends because I'm failing. My business is failing. And I went to my business friends and said, listen, I don't want to seem like a good businessman. I want to be one. Would you come alongside me and help me? And I want to study this. And so they're coming thinking they're going to help Jerry. So what came out of that is every Friday we would meet at 6 a.m. at my office. And after 6 months, my life totally changed. And the guys sitting in that room realized that it wasn't just them helping me, it really helped them. And that changed my business. Guys went from just 3 or 4 cities in California from Eureka all the way down to San Diego. I mean, we just went crazy with growth, and God just poured into us. But I know it's like God was preparing me through his values to bring hope, belief, and inspiration to others. And so for those that's on the call, if they would reach out to online, probably, and Brian, you might be able to give them some insights, but Maxwell, maybe, I don't know, John Maxwell, maybe 12 or 15 years ago, I passed the baton to John to take these values and take them worldwide. And John has. I mean, he has, as you know, I mean, we just had a board meeting yesterday, and just amazing of what God's doing through Equip worldwide. I mean, you realize that we now have 1 million kids in the United States in the I lead. That's values from the book from the Proverbs, but it's not one verse. It doesn't say Proverbs 24:4. It gives the value. And these schools now, we have 1 million. It just gives me chills. 1 million kids now in the United States. We have like 3 million worldwide beside that one. So in the United States, right now we're approved for all of Texas, all of South Dakota, all of South Carolina. We're in 43 states. Not all of them have the governor signed off to say mandatory, but it's coming. And so if you're struggling with wanting to get a hold of something, I would reach out to Brian and find out how you can get in a roundtable and change your life. It's not a Bible study, not a prayer meeting. It's a time that you come with values like honesty and hard work and dependability and self-esteem, finances. So anyway, okay.
We will link that information in the show notes to Equip, to the iLead specifically, because if they're looking, it's like how do people want to become active in doing particular things, not just be a spectator on the side. You mentioned, I want to go back real quick though. You mentioned Proverbs. I ran into a friend of ours. It's probably been 3 or 4 years ago. Kirsha and I were out it was New Year's Eve. We ran into a friend of ours who was kind of lost in his faith journey. We bumped into him at a restaurant. It's New Year's Eve. Just Kirsha and I had a date night together, and we were just getting dinner. Nice steak restaurant in Kansas City. And he said, he goes, we're rolling this next year. I want a challenge had been given to him. He had started going to church through us having conversations with him. And he said, Brian, I have a challenge that was given to him, and he was giving it to us, was to read Proverbs every day. There's 31. Okay. 31 days in most months. So he said the Proverbs challenge was to read a proverb every day for the entire year. And the challenge was to challenge that your life wouldn't change by reading that. And it wasn't this like set and do a massive study about it. It was just to read it. And I successfully completed that. I think I did miss a few days, not gonna lie. But it was just, there is wisdom. There is so much to glean from that, Jerry, as you're saying, and you guys meeting, I can only imagine meeting as a group and how you can really dive into that. But those principles, it doesn't just have to be coming from the Bible, as you mentioned. Those are just good foundational qualities that people should have. So
it's great, Brian. I'm doing the same. I every morning for I don't know how many years I've been doing this. I read a proverb every morning. I read a chapter in Psalms, and then I read a chapter in the New Testament. And I just carry that New Testament. I started in Matthew, and I just keep every morning. But what that does, it keeps you in tune of what's real. And unfortunately, a lot of people are watching Fox News or watching CNN, and that's their source. But really, if they just go to, like what you said, Proverbs, one chapter a day, that'll keep the bad stuff away.
Yeah. Well, Proverbs one chapter a day keeps the doctor away. I like that. Let's just go with that, Jerry.
I would say that their source is fear.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
And when you have the source of peace, your life will be peaceful.
Oh.
Have the source of fear, then your life will be fearful. And so you've got to change where you're getting your source from. What are you plugging into to fill yourself, not drain yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huge.
That's good.
Very important.
That's good.
Brian, did I send you this? Have I
Jerry's
sent you yet?
No.
Oh my God! I'm so sorry. I'm gonna get this out to you. I'll get it in the mail today. It's called Wisdom for Today's Leaders. It's the book of Proverbs. Yeah. So my friend Bernie Torrance, his mentor, which was the same mentor as mine, that 8th grade educated Amish guy, said, if you want to be wise in life, know and understand the book of Proverbs. So Bernie started reading the book of Proverbs, and as you've been reading it, Brian, you know that one verse is talking about prostitution, and the next verse talking about money, and the next verse. Yeah. And so what Bernie did in this book is he categorized it like our newspapers were. He categorized. So if you're going through some situations, like you can go to the index, and if you're dealing with honesty or hard work or finances, you can go to the index, and then it tells you what page that all the verses in Proverbs talks about that one thing, that one topic. Yeah, I'm going to send that to you. And then and Brian, if your friends
hold that back up, Jerry, because we're going to link this book in the show notes as well. Wisdom for Today's Leaders. Okay.
Yes. And matter of fact, Brian, I think it cost me. I think we sell these for $5. But if anybody wants those, let us know. And if they don't have $5, we'll send it to them anyway. But if I can be a blessing to those, that would be great. The second book I'm going to send you is this one. This is the Seven Pillars of Success. This is it's wrote in a fictional way, but it's all true. It's the 7 partners who went into business together. 6 of them were not believers. One was. The one was Johnny Schrock, my mentor. And they developed this company called Mini Merchant, Homes Guide. They had publications from Mississippi to New Jersey, from Canada to Miami. They had over 1,000 employees, and they're the ones I bought a franchise from and went to California to do it, right? They're the ones that helped me through it. So it talks about each of these guys ended up giving their life to the Lord, and they all had gifts that made this company big. Like it was attitude and hard work. And so anyway, when I got a hold of the values that I saw in them, I wanted all of them. I wanted every one of those values. And that's what this book is about. It's about I was in Columbia speaking at a university, and there was a guy that was up on stage just before me, and I could tell that he was just struggling in life. I mean, I called him a showboat. I'm not, he was a showboat, and I'm sure both of you know what a showboat is.
Yeah.
And so I invited him. I didn't say much to him. I just invited him to one of our meetings that was going to be in Florida. I said, you need to come. You need to get to know the guys that I know. Kind of like what you talked about, Brian, earlier, what Maxwell says, right? Who do you know that I should know? And so I said, you need to come and get around these guys. He came, and this is the story of what happened in his life. So anyway, he and my friend Bernie wrote this, and I'll get that out to you today. If you'll text me your address, you may have already, but text me your address. And
I will. Well, Gosh, the longer we stay on here, Jerry, the more stuff that comes out. This is cool. This is like Christmas here. Christmas in the summer. This is awesome. No, Jerry, thank you so much. Kersha,
Yeah.
anything that you have in closing?
I just really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your
Yeah.
heart and just your life with us, Jerry. Like, you're such a
Yeah.
blessing. We love you. We're so appreciative of the time that you give us. And I can't wait to meet your wife, Jerry,
I
because
know it. We
Yeah.
should do a round table
we should. We should.
on Zoom, and we'll
Yeah.
get the four of us to do it. Perfect.
Yes.
Let's do it.
But
Let's
let's
look
do
at
it.
that. Jerry's already making the next podcast. Here we go.
That's
So this
right.
is fine. He's a content creator of his own. So Jerry, thank you so much to all of our viewers, all of our followers. We thank you so much. If you have not, please click the subscribe and the follow button. There's behind the scenes information. There's all kinds of funny outtakes, goofy pictures. And then information listed below in the show notes for those books that Jerry talked about, as well as information around Equip, the iLead, if you're looking for other ways to get connected and plugged in to being able to help in your community. So Jerry, again, thank you again for coming on. Kersha, thank you again for jumping on here with me, babe.
Yeah.
And we will catch you all next time on another episode of Crazy Unbelievable Faith. Thanks again.
Love you.
Hey, while we're just the three of us.